In this video, I'm going to show you how to make an elegant and glam chandelier using all Dollar Tree items. So if you want to learn how to make it, well, then follow me. What's up, Glue Dots? I'm Elaine, the Midnight Crafter, and today's craft is an elegant chandelier made out of Dollar Tree items that I looked at them for a while and I knew I wanted to do something with these trays, and so I finally came up with something. I hope you guys really like it. I'm excited to show it to you because it's really pretty cool actually and unusual. But first, before we do, I would love it if you join our Glue Dot family by hitting the subscribe button right down there below, and then don't forget the bell next to it. That'll inform you when I upload any new videos. Also, leave me a thumbs up if you're enjoying my videos and a comment down below because I love hearing from you all. Well, don't forget to check the description box down below as well. A lot of times we don't look at it, but down there is a link to enter to win a really cute little bling owl keychain, and I do that drawing the first of every month, and also my contact information, but most importantly, what items you'll need to make this beautiful chandelier. So I think we need to get into it because I can't contain myself. This is super cool. I hope you guys like it. Let's go do it. Okie dokie, first thing we're going to be doing is using our little acrylic gemstones, and we're going to be creating the little sections that are going to be going inside of our squares. You're going to understand that when we get to that part. So how we're going to do this is each one is going to be 5 by 5, so 5 gemstones across, 5 gemstones down. I like working on this granite countertop, or if you have any kind of stone countertop. If not, it's great to work also on maybe on like a piece of parchment paper or something that the glue will not stick to. And what we're just going to be doing is gluing together our little gemstones here to form a square. So a little bit of glue will do it. And then I put them all face down so that the little points are sticking up. Now, if you have something that is a straight edge, I'm just going to use this as my straight edge. It's very, very helpful because you can very easily get kind of cockeyed on these. So you definitely want to have a straight line going. And just go ahead and glue your row together. Now, I will tell you that normally I use the Gorilla glue sticks, but they are kind of a cloudier. You can see the Gorilla glue sticks as compared to these other ones. I don't even know where I got these from, but I highly recommend finding some glue sticks that are clear for this project since our gemstones are clear. That way they won't show as much. This can be something, it's a great project to do while you listen like to an audio book or something, or if you have some good music you want to put on. Okay, so sometimes for me it sticks to my countertop. I just give it a minute, let it cool off, and then I use this thing to kind of move it in case it's stuck. But here's what we have so far, one of these, and we're going to go ahead and put that aside and form the rest of them. Take note when you're pushing these together that you also kind of make sure that they're flat, because sometimes we push them together and the stones kind of overlap each other without us realizing it. So just make sure that they are still flat down onto the table. We're going to do 5 rows just like that. I want to show you what a small amount of glue I'm actually putting on there, just a little dab. That's it. Okay, so now that I have all 5 of my rows here, we're going to start gluing these rows together. So I do every other one. You don't have to put glue on every single one of the 5. So I'm just putting it also so that it doesn't dry, or cool off too quickly. It's easier to just do 3 of them. And then again, face down, and you're going to attach these together. Again, I use my little edge here to make sure that these are all straight, because these can end up also kind of cockeyed. I'm going to give that a moment to cool off so I know that they're nice and stuck together. And then because this is why I was saying I like the granite countertop for this, because it's cold and it cools it off much more quickly. So I just do recommend something that's non-stick so that you don't have a problem getting this up and having it break. So this is what we will have. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna make, guess how many, guys? We're gonna make 15 of these. So this is why I say pick a good audio book and put on. And in fact, there's one that I really like, you guys. It's called, I'm listening to it now, it's called I'm a Badass. It is so great, and I really highly recommend it. So anyway, so we're gonna make our 15 of these, and take your time on them. Make sure they're all nice and flat and even. Once you get all of those done, the next thing we're gonna do is, again, take our acrylic gems. But you know, you don't have to do this all in one day. You know, take your time, spend time on it. It's worth it. It's time consuming, but it is really, really gorgeous in the long run. So I'm flipping all of these so that they're face down just to make it easier to work with. And then what we're going to be doing is making one long strand of all of these, and we're going to glue them together in the same way we glued the other ones together, except for not 5 by 5, but just directly in line to each other. Now you could use a nice straight surface for this as well. It is helpful so that you can keep these in line and straight. And again, don't forget to make sure that they are flat and not overlapping each other. We're going to be gluing together 21 in a row here. Once you get on a roll with this, it does go pretty quick. And it's probably best to separate out your stones. I mean, for me, it's easier if I count and separate out how many I need. So we're going to be using 21 across. The next thing we're going to do is a technique that I learned from Helen at Beauty Meets DIY. And we're going to take our little pony beads here, and we're going to be gluing these onto the pointed side of our gemstone. Now, I found the easiest way to do that is to take your little pony bead, put the tip of your glue nozzle in it, and give a little squirt of glue. So it's not very much at all. It's just enough that it can stick onto the back side of your gemstone here without leaving a bunch of goopy glue. So just like this, I'm putting it right there in the tip of that, in that hole, squeezing a tiny little bit in, and then pressing it right onto the tip of my gemstone. We're gonna go through and do all 21 of those. We'll run that across. Okay, so here's what it looks like when it's finished. So we will be making 5 of these. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our plastic trays here, and I already took the tag off, as you can see. And what we're going to be doing is taking our, I think these look like coasters, don't you guys think? And in fact, I think I'm going to come up with a DIY for these as coasters. But anyway, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be gluing one into each one of these sections. So they don't lay completely flat because the sections are a little narrower than what we've got here. So we want to see where they're actually making contact, which is pretty much on the outer edges of our gemstones that are sitting in there. So you're going to go ahead and we're going to use a little E6000 on the edges of the gems, and then on a couple of them, and then on a couple of them, go ahead and use your hot glue. Actually, do both sides first with your E6000, and then go ahead and put your hot glue. And then go ahead and place that right into your tray. Try and be as careful as you can with that and get that into place. I kind of got mine a little bit it slid down on the sides a little bit, so it does show on that one, but I don't think it's going to show in the long run when everything's done. There's going to be so much glam and sparkle to this. It will be beautimous and nobody will be able to tell. So we're going to go ahead, here's what it's going to look like when you have the 3 sections done, and we're going to go ahead and do this to all 5 of our trays. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be doing is putting together the shape of our light fixture here. After much trial and error, I have found the easiest way to do this is going to be to use some Scotch tape, and you can cut a couple pieces ahead at a time and have them ready. And what we're going to do is stand your pieces up here, your trays, and you're going to want the back sides to be touching and then the front side to be basically the edge flush with each other. Probably the easiest way is just to take a piece of tape and put it across. Line up the backs, line up the front, and just stick it down with the tape. Now don't stick the tape down too firmly because you're going to have a hard time peeling it up later. And you're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Okay, and then keep going around and do the same thing so the back sides are stuck together and the front sides are flush together, that front edge. You don't necessarily need a lot of tape. You can just do one in the middle, works just fine. And it's going to temporarily hold it in place until we're ready to glue it. All right, so you got those front sides matched up. And then what we're going to be doing is going down and running our hot glue down this line. Don't go over your tape because you won't be able to take the tape off. I mean, I know that goes without saying, but I'm saying it anyway. So I'm going to start with it kind of laying down like this so that I can put the pieces together and run my glue right on that seam. I'm leaving a little bit of a space so that I can re-stick it together. Now, don't worry about some of the glue showing because we have those long strips we made and those are going to be covering that up. Just make sure those seams are lined up until this glue cools off so you're nice and even and in place. And you can go ahead and peel off your tape. So a little trick too for the tape, which I did not do, but when you cut your piece of tape, if you just fold down one little corner of it, it will give you a little tab to be able to pull this up more easily. Once this one side has cooled, go ahead and turn carefully and do the same thing on your next seam. And you can see why using clear glue makes sense on this, I'm sure. So I'm going to go around and do that to all of the seams and then we'll come back and get to the next step. Okay, so this is what it looks like when it's finally all put together. The next thing we're going to be doing is taking our tray and I'm going to flip it to use a pencil and go ahead and trace out so I know where to cut. And then we're going to just go ahead and get this cut out here. Some of you may want to save this outer part for something. If that's the case, then just go ahead and poke a hole and then start cutting. Go ahead and cut your shape out. We're going to see how this fits. Now, of course, because we traced it to that edge, it's going to fit to the edge. We do want this to kind of drop down inside, so go ahead and just trim it a little bit smaller, following kind of your same line, and take a little bit off all the way around just so that we can get that to fit, and trim it until it actually fits right in there. So here this fits in there pretty well. And this is, we're putting that reflective side down so that it will reflect any light from our little lights that we put inside later. So to reinforce this top, because it is flimsy and we need it to be a little more sturdy, we're going to use some of our craft sticks here and glue them around the edges and then overlapping on themselves. This way it'll give it a little more firmness and some integrity there so that it doesn't just collapse on us. Not only reinforce it around the edges, but around this center part as well, because we're going to be hanging our lights from in there, so we want to have it hold up okay and not just cave in the center. This is all going to be on the top, so it's not going to show. We're going to want to leave this center part open because that's where we're going to potentially poke a hole in case you want to run an actual lighting through this. We'll be able to have a hole there. Now if you'd like, you can spray paint this or even buy another tray and cut another piece of this and cover it. You can cover it with foam cord. You can also, if you'd like, if you have the large roll of bling wrap, you can put some bling wrap on there just to cover it, but it is going to be up high and not really visible. Okay, so the next step we're going to do is to make the holes for the garden chain to hook through. So I have spray painted my garden chain silver. That is the only part that I can think of this project that is not from Dollar Tree is the silver spray paint. So if you don't have silver spray paint, you can use some diamond wrap to wrap around and cover your chain with, whatever other options are available to you. Okay, so what we're going to do, because the chain has 3 sections and this has 5, we can't do it in each space here, and we do have to have it evenly spaced so that the lamp doesn't hang cockeyed. So measuring around this is 30 inches. If we go every 10 inches and we poke a hole into this little lip here of the plastic, we can use that to hook our chain with. So I'm going to be using this soldering iron to do that. And if you don't have a soldering iron, you can use the tip of your glue gun, or other people have heated up something really hot with a flame and then poke that in. These soldering guns are really inexpensive, or the wood burning tools. The wood burning tools are usually a little more expensive, but these soldering guns are less than $10, and it's a great little thing to have available to use for many different projects. So I'm just going to go ahead and start my first hole, and I'm not going to center it because I know the other ones won't be centered. And I'm just going to go ahead, and you can see that just melts like butter. So it's a little smoky afterwards, but make sure you're just in a well ventilated area when you do this. Okay, so from that hole there, I am going to measure 10 inches to make my next hole. Now if you're using your glue gun, it's going to take a little more effort to make the hole. So I have my 3 holes in place now, ready to go. So next what we're going to do is, because we have our top here and we do need to pass the lights through it, so what we're going to be doing is using again the wood burning tool or the soldering iron or whatever it is you're using, and we're going to make a hole in the center that's large enough for us to pass our lights through, because we're going to be hiding the battery pack up here on the top. I didn't measure, I'm just kind of guessing where center is and making a hole there. That should be big enough to pass through the lights, and it's pretty well centered. Not perfect, but it's all good. And then we're going to set this aside until we are ready to put that all together. Okay, so what we're going to start doing right now is we're going to be putting some bling wrap on these little crossing bar things. So I've cut some single strips of bling wrap, and just by the way, FYI, I love having this ginormous roll of bling wrap, and I'm going to leave the link down below. I got it from Totally Dazzled. If this is something you guys use often, I really recommend buying it this way. It's so much more cost effective than the little $1 rolls that finish quickly, because I have used this, and there is just tons of it there, and it lasts forever. So anyway, the link will be down below in case you're interested. So what we're going to be doing is taking strips and gluing them here across this little center point. You can do a single strip if you want, a double strip, whatever you prefer. Or if you don't want any strip there at all. Initially, I wasn't even going to put anything there, and I actually really like the way it looks. So I've changed my mind and I am adding it on there. Alrighty, I'm going to go around and get that done on all the sides and be right back. Okay, so our next step is going to be to take our, remember these guys, our little strips we made, and we're going to be gluing those into place, running down the side here of each of the little seams. I'm going to do this a little at a time by adding some hot glue into each one and gluing them down. And then I'm just going to go around and do that on all the sides. This is how it looks once it's in place. So I decided to go ahead and cover my top with bling wrap. With the light showing on it, all you see is popsicle sticks still, but it is covered. And then what I did is I went ahead and took my lights, and the strand is a little longer than what we need. So I just took and folded it in half and untwisted this upper part a little bit, this wire, and just shoved one of the little lights right through there just to kind of hold it so that they're in half. But before we do that, we're gonna go ahead and feed the lights through the top of the top, and bring them all the way down. Now there's seasonal lights always. It seems like you can always find lights of one type or another at Dollar Tree. Look for them to have the silver wire instead of the dark wire. It just will look better and it won't distract or take away from your lighting. Okay, now that I have that through, I'm just gonna pass this through here to shorten up my strand. And then we'll be placing this right on top of our piece here. Figure out which way it fits, because it depends on when you cut it, which way it was facing at the time. Now it seems to fit in there nicely. If you are going to be hanging your light fixture lower, you're going to want to not feed them through first, but attach your battery pack from underneath. In this case, you're going to just want to do it in such a way you can either glue it or tape it or somehow to this underneath side, and then again fold your lights up so they don't hang down too long. I'm going to be displaying this a little bit lower for the video purposes, so I'm going to go ahead temporarily and just use some Scotch tape and tape my battery pack to the inside. If you do it with Scotch tape, you have the option of changing it around at a later time in case you want to put it on top later. I'm also going to add a small piece of tape just to bring the lights back to center so they're not hanging down from the sides. And then I'm going to bring in and attach our chain here and show you this all done. Are you guys excited? I'm so excited.